Hey everybody, thanks for tuning back in to part 2 where Sami Gardner is actually a guest on her own show. Let's dive right back in where she talks about location independence and how she uses that in her career and how you can use it in yours. Speaking of, traveling the world, we're both location independent. Do you think that is helpful to someone's career to be able to be location independent?
Yep, my opportunities were limited in Tucson because I was just in Tucson. And there wasn't as many opportunities. Like, even if I was going to be a local career coach, like I have like many clients from my hometown. My first clients were word of mouth, but there's only so many people there. And traveling the world has kind of helped me find clients, find people to collaborate with, meet you. Mariza, you've been such a mentor in my career. So like that has definitely helped. And it also helped as a career coach because I know so much about hiring in a number of different countries. Some people can only work in the EU. Some people can only work in Canada. Like, I can work in a number of different countries.
A number of different continents. You've spoken on different continents.
Yeah, dude, like 3, which is pretty good. So that has definitely helped me. And also because, like, on a personal note, I guess this is very much probably specific to me or other people who grew up in really small towns, but traveling the world has made me more culturally competent and aware. And I think has, like, in many ways kind of opened my eyes to all the different ways of living. I feel like it doesn't matter where you are from. Like, I don't think it's like country specific for people to be sheltered. But if you don't go outside of the zone where everybody's your religion or speaks your language or something like that, you don't quite realize,
you can't get that self-awareness, without seeing the difference between you and someone that was raised in another culture. I mean, I think you can talk about it theoretically, but you don't feel it. And I think you and I have both been in those positions where, especially growing up in the US that has such a strong culture, many different flavors of strong culture, but it is strong. And you go somewhere else, you're like, oh, I totally expected it to be, I didn't even know I was like that. I'm kind of a douche. Maybe I shouldn't be like that anymore.
Yeah.
Whatever the behavior might be. Sure.
Exactly. So,
and that's got to be helpful, the self-awareness from a career perspective. I'm sure you've had some clients that they don't really know who they are or what they can do, or their perception of their value in the marketplace is different. Do you think, traveling and that sort of thing helps your perspective from that perspective as well?
Yes, I believe that it helps, and it just is generally helpful for everybody. And I also feel like for me, it has given me very much an understanding of what is normal. Of course, there's no real normal, but when you're in the States, a lot of our work laws would be illegal in other countries. Like that right to work thing, like sometimes we take where we are from for granted and be like, that's the way it is, that's what it's always supposed to be. But you go to some other places and you kind of realize the differences in the work life and you see different possibilities, and it's been really beneficial for me because I've been able to talk with people and tell them, okay, like I had one student who really wanted to do the startup scene. He wanted to do something international. He wanted to shake things up. And due to my experience working and staying in Berlin, I already knew, like, dude, this is the city for you. Like, I already have some connections. Like, let's see what we can do for you to just switch up your life. And he went from Tennessee to Berlin, and he's been real happy working in the startups ever since. But he had never thought about that. Nobody had been like, have you ever thought that you might actually be happier in Germany? Like, it hadn't occurred to me. Like he was just like, I'm missing something. I want to do something different. And I'm like, buddy, let me tell you about a place.
Well, that's very good that you can get and travel and be able to have some more connections and learn some more about yourself. And in that discussion, I saw a little bit of, career advice for folks. Let's dive a little bit more into that. Because I think that's what people really want to hear from you. They know you're a career coach, career development guru, all of those things. What is the career advice that you find that you give the most, that you feel like you just keep telling people to do over and over?
The career advice that I keep telling people to do over and over and over is not so much advice, it's an insight. And that is, you cannot play by the old rules. A lot of people have this idea that they should, if they send out 10 applications somewhere, like they don't really need a cover letter, they can have a generalist resume, they can kind of not really know people, and it's just going to work out. And eventually, after you get out, eventually as you rise up to a certain level in your career, that's no longer really realistic. And for most jobs, that's not realistic at all. Like, you have to actually think about yourself as more like a freelancer, an entrepreneur, even if you're an employee, because you're going to be the one that's managing your career. Like, tenures in jobs are getting shorter. If you want to become recession proof, then you need to manage yourself like a brand, like a product, figure out really intentionally whatever it is you want, and then understand what you are good at. Like, are you like somebody who's really good at being a people person and you're really good at going to these different events? Are you more of an organizer and you'd rather plan the events? Are you, somebody who's really good at connecting other people? Like you, Mariza, are a definite connector. Like, you're like a human Rolodex. Like, I can be like, hey, I need this thing. And you're like, oh, let me flip through. Where do you need them? And like, you can spew out a bunch of names. And this is just really important now, because we're never going to have that one job. Hell, we're not going to have that one career. I'm trying to make an idea that your career can be many things. It can be over time. It can evolve and grow. But you have to think about the skills that you actually want to use, what's valuable, what can't be automated. Because you might train as maybe like, a construction drafter, and you might have some skills as a photographer. You have no idea if in the future that photography is what's going to keep you afloat, because you're fired or laid off, or maybe CAD drafting is just going the way of the dodo. Like, you don't know. Like, I've worked with so many people.
We don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. I mean, we talk about the automation all of the time and AI. Like, there's a ton of jobs that exist today still that will absolutely not be around in 10 years. And people that are studying for and doing those things are kind of in trouble. So like you said, the career can be many different industries, and people don't think of it that way. And how you manage you were talking recently on LinkedIn about managing your own personal brand, because even our grandpas did that as well. And I don't think enough people pay attention to that. They think you need to be like an Instagram influencer, and that's the kind of person that manages their brand. How would you suggest to people, as if someone, we'll say your Italian friend that here, that doesn't really manage a personal brand or think he has a personal brand, how does one get started with that, from that typical just a resume mindset to having some kind of personal brand?
I would like, for folks who are having trouble with that, because they're like, oh man, I'm not like Coca-Cola, I don't have a brand, I don't need a logo or a color scheme. Think about it as a reputation, because in whatever industry you are, whatever time period you are, your reputation means something. And that is essentially your brand. Like, we use brand to sound like more fancy and everything, and to also include maybe some more strategy into it. But your reputation has always been what's gotten people hired, gotten people notoriety, and, given them some sort of momentum in their life and their career. Like, if the example, like with, my grandpa, which is what gave me the inspiration for that video. My grandpa, he started off as a mailman, then he had his own business, and he was active in the Elks Lodge, and he went to the Moose Lodge. He had, he participated on town committees. Like, Before my grandma got in an argument with the priest, he volunteered with the church and everything like that. Like, he worked at being known in his community and being known for a guy who, when you hired him to do your fire extinguishers, he did his job well, punctual. Like, he kept like generations of businesses that would come to him, and everything like that. And he worked till
and I think you hit it on the head. He wouldn't have called it like brand, I'm sure, but he definitely would have thought about it as his reputation.
Yes.
And I think, I think that's the first time you put it that way to me, because I do get pushback from people when you say the brand word. They think of Coca-Cola or some snazzy like online profile. And a lot of people shy away from that, especially people that aren't traditional, Instagrammers, Pinterest, social media folk. But you don't have to be all over this, the fun social media, but you do have to be on the LinkedIn's and do the professional pieces. That is part of your reputation.
You have to be known. And there are so many tools today that help you be known. And it's up to you to figure out what tools feel right for you. For me, podcasting is a way for me to be visible. It's a way for me to meet people. It's a way for people to listen to my expertise, get free help from me, and, grow confident or comfortable with me as a resource, for even for like, being right now in Italy. Like, it seems like most of the businesses, like I got my hair done by a family of Italian hair champions. They don't really have much of a LinkedIn, or they don't have much of like a Facebook or, marketing, but they have trophies everywhere. They are world champions. They are known in their industry because they chose a way to be known. Like, a lot of people, like, they think, oh, this needs to be a ton of work, or I have to go against my instincts. It's like their instinct was to go and win these hair championships. Maybe it wasn't to hire a PR team or something like that, but they make themselves known. And that is what's the key. There's that old saying that it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. I would add, it's about who knows you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, you mentioned that, there's some tools for being known, and this podcast is one of them for you. What would you say are some tools that are available to job seekers or people just looking for new clients?
Mm-hmm. One of the things to think about is that a lot of millennials have issues with being lonely. And one of the ways where you cannot be lonely is to go out where the people are and connect with them. So there is still a place for being part of professional organizations. Like, I was part of the Arizona Library Association, and that was super helpful. Like, I've had clients who are part of...
That sounds sexy, very sexy.
You know what? It actually was one of the best conferences that I go to, because the librarian conferences feed you well. And there's always tea.
Oh, nice.
And everybody has a lovely cardigan. So it was a very cozy conference indeed. You scoff, but it was cozy. So there's lots of ways of being visible. I have a lot of like my designers who are part of the User Experience Professional Association. Like, think about how you can, or they go to meetups, like maybe they go to Geeks Who Drink, or they go and, they have, coffee chats with people. Like, be visible, like in real life too. And then that's something where, you can add people to your LinkedIn. I feel like sometimes people want to have the shiniest like online tool or software, when making an in-person connection, that is so helpful. Because when you are, even if like maybe you can only meet those people like maybe once every 2 months because your schedule's weird, you can still maybe volunteer to do a newsletter for an organization. Like, there's still ways that you can be part of the conversation and have people see you and know you, and also, more importantly, see the caliber of your work. I have a lot of people on LinkedIn who ask me to send them for jobs or promote them or to recommend them, but I haven't seen a demonstration of their work. A lot of these people don't have portfolios either. And it's like, if I can't know you somehow and talk to you, and I also can't see what your work looks like, then I really, in all good faith and honesty, can't recommend you. and that's why I think it's also another thing that's important for visibility and for getting out there is to have a portfolio. And I don't care if you're in a field where that isn't like a traditional thing, like it's not traditional for librarians to have portfolios, but I made sure to have like a website that showed how I did, group projects and talked about a book fair and shit like that, because then I could actually show.
I was just going to ask that. Because you were saying like portfolio, I immediately think of the groups that you work with, like web developers or a graphic designer or a video editor, of course, or a photographer is going to have a portfolio. But somebody like me with a finance background or, a different type of traditional job or an operations job, I wouldn't think to have a portfolio. And I remember my first job was bringing a PowerPoint deck to my interview. And I guess that was like an old school paper way to do it. But what would you suggest to people that don't have, a web developer or some type of easily put online visual? What kind of portfolios do you see that are a little bit more?
Well, I would suggest anything that can demonstrate your skills. So let's say for you, since you've done ops, business development, you could write a case study on something that you did, like, with some of the co-working stuff that you've worked on. I know you've done stuff with people in New York City and et cetera, et cetera. Like you could write like a short case study on here's this New York City hostel or whatever you worked on. So that could be like what you could do. So for somebody, wouldn't that be something where if it's between
Hey guys, I'm getting free career advice here and I didn't even know it. I thought I was doing an interview.
You're welcome.
Learning something for sure.
I mean, I love being helpful, but I also think that because we're in the most educated generation that's ever been, the thing is that there was a lot of social promotion. I think for some people where they were just kind of pushed up through grades in school. There's also a lot of people who
everybody gets a trophy.
Yep, and there's also a lot of people who all had college group assignments with that one person where you're literally dragging down her grade point average. Like, why are you not like
one or two people in the group? Sure.
Yeah, there's been a lot of people who are able to cruise through degrees, and that's why, unfortunately, despite how much we paid for them, our bachelor's degrees have less weight now. They say that a bachelor's is like, a high school diploma now. I don't even know what I don't even know what a GED is worth anymore. And it could be the same way with master's degrees if we don't stop this educational arms race. And the thing that actually separates you is that a lot of people can sit in a class and kind of absorb enough to regurgitate on a paper and get a C. However, how many people can implement what they've actually learned? So even for folks who maybe they're like, I don't know, in the nursing profession or something like that, if they have like a LinkedIn, they can have like, showing their certificates that they've done for, if they're doing some sort of holistic medicine, they can have letters of recommendation put on there by previous employers. If they do like a humanitarian trip, like one of my cousins, she went to Haiti, and she worked with, small children and stuff like that. So there's, a couple of pictures in front of her, clinic that she was working at in Haiti. Like, even if it's like where because of HIPAA, you can't talk all day. Like, here's a case study about this guy who had a really weird boil and how I took care of it. Like, you can't do that because of HIPAA, but you can still, using LinkedIn or using a resume or something like that or whatever, you can still show that, hey, I did a thing, I was there, and it's something that's a little bit more interesting than a black and white resume. And then that's also something where when you're talking to people at conferences and you're making yourself known, they can also, if someone's going to refer you to a job, and I've had people refer to me, like they send me a resume or a portfolio or something like that so I can source them out before I even send them to my boss, because I want to make sure this person looks good, so the more that you add for a LinkedIn or a portfolio or something that's just like proof that like you learned a thing and then you're able to do it. Like, haven't we met so many people that have been hired and we're just like, do you know
You can't do that thing.
Yeah, it's like, do you know what we do here?
What are you doing here? You can't do that.
Are you lost?
Exactly. So career advice from Sami. We talked about personal brand, and you gave a really nice analogy to reputation, which I love. Talked about showing what you can do in a portfolio. Portfolios aren't just for web developers. Some great advice to me about writing up some case studies, which is a good way for me to strut my stuff on the internets. Is there any other type of career advice that you want to share with today's listeners that you just keep telling people over and over again? This the top career advice. Any other areas that you tell your client, all of your clients?
Oh yeah, this is a real simple tip. Always apply at the company website. If you have the choice between applying on Indeed or going directly to that company, go directly to the company website. Some people like
Go direct
to this
go
weird,
to the source.
dude, you gotta go to the source. Like, people get into like a zombie like days of hitting easy apply over and over and over on LinkedIn, and that doesn't help you. That means you're dropped into one applicant tracking system that could scramble whatever you put in there, and then dropped into another. I've used a couple of different applicant tracking systems with different recruitment contracts, and like sometimes if, for instance, I'm getting an application from Stack Overflow, like it looks crappy compared to what I have on my actual company website, because on the company website sometimes they let you send in a video, they let you send in extra material. So the people who apply through the company website, they look like rock stars because they know that they had the option to send in a short video that introduced themselves, so I get to like see their personality immediately, or they were able to send in another statement or another link. So you always want to go there, and also understand if you're feeling intimidated by the amount of applications out there. Like, keep in mind that half the people who apply are going to immediately be disqualified because they don't have enough experience. Maybe they don't put the right information. Maybe they mess up. Like, one time I was recruiting for a remote job, and the guy's cover letter only said, "I wanted a remote job, and I guess this one will do." Like, he was immediately, boom, out of my pile.
Rock star.
Yeah, I was like, well, ain't you sassy? But so don't feel intimidated. Most people do not take an extra step. And the secret to my career in a lot of ways is that I show up and I take a couple extra steps than other people. It doesn't mean that I'm better. It doesn't mean that, I am, a ninja. It just means that I put in a little bit more thought. And half the time I look good, even though, because I just put a system. Like, my resumes were tailored to specific facets of my skills and experience. So I didn't have to, I could tailor my resumes for a bunch of different sort of jobs. And I had a streamlined process, but that's because I started off with 4 different varieties. So I just had to send that off to this job that had more instruction, or this that had more coaching. And it made it really easy for me to send stuff off and look like I was writing directly to that company. So whenever you're worried about how you might be on the job hunt, if you take that one more extra step, you're usually doing better than 90% of the people who applied. And that alone makes a recruiter or a hiring person look at your stuff that much more closer.
Absolutely. Because it's not always, the person with the best fit and best abilities that gets the job. It's the person that applies the best and does the things and checks the boxes and look and stands out from the crowd. And that's what you do a really good job of helping people with, helping them work on the personal brand and standing out from the crowd. Is there anything, it is still your show, even though I'm guest hosting, but is there anything else that you wanted to share with people? Anything I forgot to ask?
Good question.
Personal details, insights.
I'm full of them. But I think one thing that I would suggest for everybody is if you are clear on what you're going to do, because you need to have a clear vision to make a strategy. And always be a little bit gentle with yourself, because you can't, sometimes you have to change some things in your life before you deal with a career change, or maybe things take more time. Like the average job hunt takes between 3 to 6 months. The average job seeker has to send out 26 applications to get one interview. So I see a lot of people who are
Wow,
like,
that's some big statistics. Like, don't
yeah,
wait until you're burnt out and desperate.
no, like think about the fact that like it can take a while. So like, you might not want to quit your job right away until you have enough savings to do so. Like you might have to think about the fact that, okay, maybe I don't hear back from 10 people after sending out my resume, but not to start panicking or freaking out or thinking that I suck, because you just haven't sent out enough. Like a lot of my job is just like moderating people's expectations, and making sure that they're not like kicking themselves over things that like, it's not your fault, buddy. We don't really have enough applications out there to even know how you're doing. Put out a couple more. Like if you put out 100 and nobody's gotten back to you, yeah, you got a problem. But like, ease up on yourself, Charlie. It's hard out there.
It is hard out there. It is. Well, I hope that people find these insights into your own career journey from librarian, nonprofit to career coach, and really see how you develop those skills and the passion that you have for helping people, which is great. And then also, of course, some free career advice, which I got some help today for free and I didn't even know. So that all has been super. You usually, as I know on your podcast, give people a time at the end to talk about a little bit more about what they offer, where they can find you. Obviously, it's your show, people know where to find you. But if they want to hear more personal things from you, I know that you're on LinkedIn and you do a lot of videos there. You have your Facebook group. Remind folks if they want to hear more this kind of stuff, where do they go?
Awesome. So I am serving up my own brand of career realness like nearly every day on LinkedIn. I share a lot of stuff for creative tech professionals there. You can find me, Sami Gardner, career coach, type that in, I pop up. I'm also on the Book of Face, where I teach primarily things about LinkedIn branding. I usually have people just go into my group for that, which is LinkedIn Marketing Mastery for Entrepreneurs, which may or may not.
LinkedIn Marketing Mastery.
Yes, it's a
on the Facebooks.
On the Book of Face.
And is that free to join?
That is free to join. And that's just where I just share the things that I learn, tactics that I learn as I do it. Because that's kind of my place comes from the fact that like when you're talking about career change, I've done it. If we're talking about building a brand on LinkedIn, I've done it. Like, so I teach people exactly what I have learned and what has worked for me. There's also the careerkickstartacademy.com website where you can look at old episodes of the podcast. I have free courses, I have paid courses, and I also have the availability for people who want to do one-on-one coaching. I have one-off coaching and also longer packages, including my Career Brand Accelerator, which is something that I love doing with UX designers, digital marketers, and other such creative folks. And that's kind of what you need to know about all the things that I am pushing, what I'm talking about. I have an Instagram, but I don't know what I'm doing there. So it's more like, here's a selfie. Here's a snake that I saw. Ooh, here's a dog. Here's a creepy house.
If you want to see Sammy's beautiful blue eyes, she's got the Instagram. If you want some, more free advice and just generally connect with her and get her videos, because she is right. She's on there doing videos and giving advice and guidance for careers on LinkedIn and on Facebook. And then for those of you that need a little more attention, she's got some packages and one-on-one consulting that she does offer. So you've got the gamut here of help. If there's help, you're doing it.
I do. I mean, you know what? I'm out there helping the peoples. And also I do on LinkedIn a Wednesday Pick My Brain. So if you just have a quick question, Put it on careers, but you know what? Hey, if you got an interesting one that's random, maybe I'll answer it. I don't know. But you can always pick my brain every Wednesday on LinkedIn, where you know what? I don't know. It's one of those places where I'm really good there. If you go on my Facebook, you'll be like, everyone's ignoring you. And then on LinkedIn, it's like a party. I don't know why that is. But my real party is always on LinkedIn if you want to go to the career party.
There you go. Well, it has been a pleasure to pick your brain today. Thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to guest host on your show.
Well,
and, I'll let you take it away and say goodbye to folks.
Well, thank you, Mariza. You did a great job of asking me a bunch of questions. Some of them I hadn't really thought about. So thank you so much for taking the time to. And thank you guys for listening. As always, I'm Sami Gardner, and this is the Career Kickstart Show. Bye.
Change your career, change your life at CareerKickstartAcademy.com.